everybody, welcome to Bones Collector. Today on Bones Collector we're continuing our series where Lori and I are playing our way through our board gaming library. The reason why we're doing this, of course, is to show you up close and personal the mechanics and what the game looks like physically on the table. So we're going to play a couple of games, 2 or 3 games each week, and make a video about it and pass it on to you, and I hope you enjoy them. Hey you guys, welcome to Commercial Free Bones Collector. Today, Lori and I just got done playing Mandala by Trevor Benjamin and Brett J. Gilbert. It's a 2-player only game from 2019. The art is by Clemens Franz, who does many board games. This is an area majority, hand management, and set collection game, and the person with the most points at the end of the game wins the game. And this is such a beautiful game. It came out in 2019, and I watched it played one time on YouTube and knew I had to have it because it is so deep in complexity and so simple in the rule set. It's just one of those evergreen games that we've just played, and you get it out and you play it 4, 5, 6, 10 times every time you get the game out because it is so much fun. And I just cannot stop playing or telling people about this game. It's in my top 20 of all time, Mandala, and it'll stay there for as long, I don't know. It's just a wonderfully designed game. These guys have done, Trevor Benjamin and Brett J. Gilbert have done some outstanding games. You can look them up on Board Game Geek or go look this game up and click on their names and you'll see the other games they've designed. They're reputable designers, so I knew that this game had some teeth to it. And it's nothing to this game. You're looking at the components. This linen towel is your board, which I love because it folds up nice and fits in this little tiny box, and I don't know why more board game publishers don't do this, and I've said it before. And then you get a deck of cards, and there are 6 different designs on these cards. You can see the different colors, 6 different designs on this deck of cards. These have been shuffled, and all you have to do to play this game is understand how this board is laid out. First of all, this is called a mandala. There's 2 of them on the board. And the mandala consists of the mountain, which is this middle stripe, and then the 2 fields, which are on either side of the mountain. And that's where people will be playing cards, into the fields and into the mountain. And then on each side of this linen board is the river, and each space on the river has a different point value, and then at the end of the river it has a cup, and that's where you're going to put the cards that are going to score for those point values in the river. So this is how this game is set up. First of all, you take 2 cards and you put 1 card in each of the mountain areas of the mandalas, the 2 mandalas. Then you deal out 6 cards to each player. 4, 4, 5, 5, 6, 6, and that's your hand of cards. And then each player gets 2 cards in their cup to start the game. There we go. We're ready to play Mandala. That's how quick it is. You get this game out and you just start playing it, and you play it and play it and play it. Now what you're going to do on your turn is you have simply a couple of choices, and you're going to play cards into the fields, or you're going to add to the cards that are already in the mountain. And what you would do is, let's just give an example. I'm looking at my hand of cards that I've been dealt to start the game here. If I'm starting the game on my turn, I'm looking at the cards that I have in my hand and asking myself what I want to do with them. Well, I have 3 that match right here, so that's pretty cool. So I'm going to take those cards, I'm going to play them into this field right here. Right now I'm ahead 3 cards to nothing to take the cards out of this mountain area of this mandala. So now my opponent's going to play cards, and maybe my opponent will play a couple of cards. Let's look and see what my opponent ended up with. Okay, I don't know if we can see it on camera, but she cannot play, or my opponent cannot play these black cards into this mandala because black is already represented. You must play a color into the fields or the mountain that is not already there. So those cards would be out. This card could be played into this area. This card could be played into this area. This card could be played into the mountain of this area or the field of this area. It could be played into the mountain of this area or the field of this area because it hasn't been represented. Once all 6 colors have been played into one of these mandalas, It's time to destroy that mandala, and players split the pot of gold. You get to split the cards that are in the mountain. And once you take those cards that are in the mountain, let me give you a scenario right here. Okay, maybe we had this situation. So what color is missing? Green. Let's say that this situation ended up like this. That's all 6 colors. Now it's time to destroy this mandala. I have 4 cards in the fields of this mandala, and Lori has 2. Lori would have 2 cards. So I get to pick first which group of cards I want. Well, I'm going to take the one that has the most cards because we're starting the game, and I will take these cards right here, and I'm going to take one of these cards and put it in the number 1 slot in the river, and the other 2 cards will go in my cup. So right now I've got 3 points scored for this particular point value, the number 1 square in the river here. And each time you take a different color card that you take from the mountain, whatever color you take, you have to put 1 in the river, and then the rest of them go in your cup. Now if you take some cards that are already represented in your river, you just simply take all those cards and put them in your cup, and you're going to get that, multiply that times the points in the river, and it goes from 1, 2, 3, 4 all the way up to 6. These spaces on the river. So you quite naturally, you want the most cards in those higher point values, and that's the complexity of this game. You just want to win the most cards you can and put them in the highest point values you can. The game ends when this deck of cards runs out. That is the end game trigger. You shuffle the discard deck and then keep playing until you destroy 1 more mandala, and then that is the end of the game, even if the river and spaces in your play area haven't been filled up. And there's times when that will happen. So the last game we just played, I think Lori had filled up the 5th space in her river, and I had only gotten to the 4th space, but I was still able to win the game because I had 10 cards in my represented for my number 3 slot in my river. So if I had, let's say, if this was the card, I had my number 3 slot and I had 10 of those in my cup, that's 30 points. Well, excuse me, it would be 33 because I would count this one. Mm-hmm. So if I had 9 and then this one, that would be 30 points. But you see how that works. These spaces in your river, you're going to multiply times the cards that you have in your cup. And that's the strategy in this game. And there's so many ways to play this game. You can try to speed through and get cards and fill up your river, or you can kind of try to get a lot of cards represented for each space in your river, so that maybe it's possible for another player to have all of their spaces filled up in their river all the way up to number 6. You might only have up to number 4, or I don't know if you could do it to number 3. Maybe it's possible, I suppose. But if you had enough cards, that you won the mandala and you put them in your cup, you could possibly beat that player even though they got their spaces filled up all the way to number 6. It's possible to do that, and that's what you're trying to do, is balance that in this game. And it can be played so many different ways, and there's so much to think about when you take your turn. And sometimes in your hand you won't have any cards you want, so one of your options is to discard as many cards as you want and then take that many from the deck. So you can discard and replenish your hand with cards from the deck. Hopefully you get something you want in that draw. But that's one of the things you can do on your turn. And that is the beauty of this game. It's very simple, but it's very complex. It's very simple, but it's very deep. That's what I want to say. And this is one of those evergreen games. You've heard that term bandied about. This is an evergreen game. Just never change. It's just going to play and play and play and be different and wonderful and deep every time you play it. The challenge of it is the beauty of it. And the simple rule set is just amazing. And I just love this game. It's another one like this would be, to compare it to, would be Hanamakoji, which is a very simple rule set and a very deep game also. And both those games, little card games, are in my top 20 all time. I just love both of those games because you can play them over and over again. It doesn't have a lot in here, so this got a nice little box, small box. You can store it. I store it over in my end table with my little games over here, and whenever I think about it, I get a smile on my face because I love to play it. If someone says, hey, let's play Mandala, hey, let's do it. It's 2 players only, so there's no solo variant. I'm sorry about that, my solo players, but 2-player only game. I just love it, and that's called Mandala. And if you have not played this, you're really shortchanging yourself if you love to play games. Mandala is one of those designs that is perfection in a box. My hat's off, and I tip my hat to Trevor Benjamin and Brett J. Gilbert. I've played other games that I like by these guys. Chocolate Factory, I think one of them was a co-designer on Chocolate Factory, something which I absolutely adore. But this little gem here, if I could keep 20 games, this would be one of them. Maybe if I kept 10 games, this would be one of them. I don't know. It's that good because the replayability is infinite. And that's the beauty of this design. That's Mandala. Check it out if you haven't played it. And if take my word for it, if you like little card games, hey, just buy it. You can play this game until the cows come home. Okay, you know, I neglected to tell you that during your turn when you're playing cards, when you play cards into the field, you just lose those cards out of your hand. You don't get to draw anything from the deck. The only time you can draw from the deck is when you are playing a card into the mountain. So if you play this card into the mountain, you can draw 3 cards if you don't go over 8 in your hand. You have a hand limit of 8, but you can draw 3 cards, and that's how you replenish your cards in your hand, up to 8. It's a hard limit. So that's one way to replenish your hand, other than discarding cards out of your hand and drawing that same amount off the deck. But that's your whole turn when you do that. This way, if you play into the mountain and you're planning for that, then you can play into the mountain and draw some cards from the deck. And the beauty about that is that sometime you may, when you're battling for the area majority in these mandalas, you may tell yourself, I've got the card to kill that mandala right now. I've got the 6th color in my hand. But if I play it, I'm not going to get that many cards. And I've only got 2 cards in my hand. So I'm gonna take a chance and play another card into the mountain, and then I'm going to draw 3 cards and see what I get and pray that that comes back to me and I can play that 6th card in that mandala and get the cards from the mountain in that particular mandala. So you're thinking about those types of strategies the whole time you're playing this game. Again, it can be very deep. I would say you won't understand this game until you've played 4, 5, 6 times. Then the light starts to come on and you learn about all the strategies that are deeply hidden in this game. And it's so much fun to play and so much fun to figure that out as you're playing it. But it's just an excellent game. If you haven't played it, please, please, I'm begging you. It also comes with some player aids. I didn't say that. And then Lori printed a score sheet off of Board Game Geek, and it should have come with a score sheet because you need that to add up your points by color in your river here. And that she printed that off and laminated, so we have that. And that's Mandala. I'll see you next time on The Bones Collector. I love every one of you. Make sure to keep gaming. It's the best hobby on the planet. I'll see you guys. Bye-bye. Hey you guys, welcome to Commercial Free Bones Collector. How you doing this afternoon? And today I'm going to talk about a game that we just finished playing 4 times called the Whatnot Cabinet. The Whatnot Cabinet is a tile drafting and placement, set collection, action selection game from Steve Finn and Eduardo Barros. And the art is by Beth Sobel. And if you play a lot of board games, you know who Beth Sobel is. So the art's very pretty in this game. And this game came out in 2021. It has a solo variant, but it'll play up to 4 players. So that's kind of nice. And the winning condition is the most points in this game. And this is just a little tile laying puzzle game. And there's lots of them out there. The reason why I was so interested in this one when I first saw it a couple of years ago was Steve Finn was one of the designers, and I have a game of his called Biblios, which is perfection. If you haven't played Biblios, it is a little card game where you are drafting cards. It has a set collection element, but you're also affecting the value of some dice on a little board that you're going to get those points at the end of the game. So I just love that game. If it's not in my top 100 games of all time, it certainly should be, because it is absolutely perfect in its design. And so I was interested, because of Biblios, to see what Whatnot Cabinet had to offer, and we kickstarted the game and to get our copy. And I don't think there's anything in the Kickstarter. There's a little expansion that comes with the Kickstarter. Other than that, you get what you see here on this table. And it's very nicely produced. This is Pencil First Games, and just a pretty little box. It's a small box, and it's a nice thick box where it's not going to be destroyed with storing it in your house. And the game has a nice insert in it that stores everything, all your player markers and your cards and so forth that go with the game. So I was very, very impressed with that. I like the production of this game. It's nicely produced for what it is, a little tile-laying puzzle game. And we really enjoy this game. We've played it quite a few times, 10 times now. And I keep it around for those times. Again, you have to have a variety of different complexity games in your library just to keep your interest and keep you doing different things. And I think this is an excellent game for senior citizens. I like to focus on that because it's a puzzle that you're putting together, so it keeps your mind thinking all the time. And there's various things you can do in this game, but one of the things I wanted to point out about the production of this game, it has a wonderful player aids with it. It tells you all the actions you can take and how to score in the game. So you keep those by your play area when you're playing the game. And then it also has some cards that come with the game. And these are common goals that you see up here. These are personal goals that you have to attain. And this little board here is the action selection board. And as you use this, and it has iconography that tells you exactly what each action does, but it also tells you on this card what each action does in text. So you can use this also if you have trouble with the iconography on the board. And then also on here it shows you how to score the columns and rows. So that's very handy. And then on the other side of that, we take two each so we can see both sides of the card. On the other side it tells you the gameplay and the end game scoring, so summary. So that's pretty cool. I really enjoy how this game was designed. And you have these little point tokens that are going to be in a pile on the table, and whenever you complete your columns and your rows, if you scored any points at all, you put that number of point token by your column or your row. And like this, once you complete your columns and rows, and it also has blanks because you're going to have times when you just couldn't get your act together in the column or the row, and so you have to put a blank, one of those slugs like from the slot machine or something. So that's what you're going to look like when you get done with the game. You're going to have tokens on every column and every row, whether you scored or whether you didn't. And let's see, Lori printed off a score sheet. I'm surprised it didn't come with a score sheet because you do have to add up your scores at the end of the game. There's different areas of scoring, so it would have really been nice if a score sheet had come with the game. And you get a nice little printed bag here to draw your tiles out of, the Whatnot Cabinet. That's pretty cool. These are your Whatnot cabinets, and you can see it has the carpet right here, and then your little Whatnot cabinet that sits on the carpet, and you're going to put the little things you find, your little objects that you find in your Whatnot cabinet, and that's pretty cool. I like the theme of the game, and I like the game itself because Lori and I enjoy these little puzzle games, and this is a nice one, well done. We've played it, and we really enjoy it. And on this, simply what you're going to do in this game is select one of these actions on this action selection board, and then you're going to take that action, and it's going to allow you to draft tiles from the out of doors. This is called the out of doors, and you're going to draft tiles from the out of doors here and place them in your cabinet. And as you select these actions, Lori is the green player, I was the orange player, and if she selected maybe this action down here, then I would select this action. She maybe would select this action, and I might select that action. Then at the end of the round, these just slide up, and that's the turn order for the next round. And you've seen games do that before. I'm losing my voice a little bit. My asthma medication's kicking in. But you've seen games do that before, and then that's going to be the turn order for the next round. And here you'll see I'll be taking 2 turns in a row to start the round, so I get to do that. And then she'll be taking the last 2 turns. But after every round, you just simply slide your markers back up over top of this action selection where you chose that action. So that's pretty cool. And then at the end of the last round, also in these action selection columns, there's point totals, and it only counts in the end game. So at the end of the game, if you selected one of these first 3 actions, you're going to get some points. If you selected this first action, you get 3 points, the second action gets 2, and the third action gets 1 point, and the other 2 get 0 points. So in that last round, you might want to select if you think, and this game is close. I mean, we just got done playing 4 times, and every game was within 1 point except the last time we just played. So these games are very close, and that's just a sign of a great board game design. So those points can be very important at the end of the game. But the thing about it is, the sooner you want to go in the round, those actions are a little weaker than the ones at the end of this board. So you have to ask yourself, especially in that last round, do I want those 3 points? Do I want to go here? But you're taking a chance because this action is to draw 3 tiles out of this bag blind, and you're going to have to keep them and place them in your Whatnot cabinet, and you're down to maybe 4, maybe 2 spaces. So drawing 3 blindly out of the bag is really taking a heck of a chance, but you get 3 points. So you got to ask yourself, is that worth it? And the second action is 2 points, and the third action is 1 point. So you want to get some points at that last round from your action selection, because like I say, these games are very tight, and it could win you the game. So it's very important to think about that when you're playing this game. And then you're simply going to take these tiles from the out of doors and draft them and fill up your Whatnot cabinet, and you get points for, let's say in the columns, as it shows here on the player aid, if you put 4 Whatnots objects that are different colors from top to bottom in one column, you get 2 points. If they're the same color, you get 4 points. In the rows, if you put objects that are the same, and just objects, not colors, but same objects like shells or crystals, those kinds of things, bottles, then you're going to get 3 points for that row. If in that row you put 3 different items, you're going to get 1 point. So that's what you're trying to accomplish on this board. That's the basic part of the game. And then you're going to affect that a little bit by some of these common goals. The first one to do those things gets these points, and they're all 1 and 2 point cards. But you have to think about those also, because you can deviate from that basic function of rows and columns to try to complete them in a different way to acquire some of these cards. And Lori's pretty good at that. She usually gets a lot of those cards, and I just ignore them for the most part. I kind of look at them, but I'm just going after that base scoring for the most part, because I'm not, my mind doesn't work. It's not well oiled like that. So I kind of look at them, and if I see one that I've accomplished, oh, I did that, and I grab it, and I feel very good about it, like I actually did it on purpose. But for the most part, that's the way this game is going to work. And then you have a couple of personal goals with color and object shape, or objects that you're going to have by your player board also. It's going to score very few points at the end of the game. Now, if you have, like, you'll have one that's colors, one that's object. If you have more, this one's green. If I had more green tiles in my Whatnot cabinet than my opponent, I get a point. If I had more shells in my Whatnot cabinet than my opponent, I get a point. If I have green shells in my Whatnot cabinet, I get a point for each one of those. So you can see how this works. And I mean, all 3 games before this, it was 31-30, 29-30. I mean, the scores are very close. And in this last game, Lori forgot the last round that these points on the board. She had the first 2. She went first. She had the first 2 action selection, first 2 in the turn order, and I was the last 2. And I said, "Uh-oh!" And it's the last round. She just forgot about these points and went down here.
I was too busy trying to get my board just right, and it didn't work out.
Yeah, she selected these strong actions and sacrificed the points.
I forgot
about it. She forgot about sacrificing those points. Then when I took my turns, I was like, "What are you doing, man? I'll take those." And I just I think I grabbed all 5 points, yeah.
Yes, and you also had very lucky draws.
I just had a very lucky draw, and that can happen in this game. I had 2 spaces to fill, and there's some special tiles that come out of this bag. One of them lets you draw a tile out of the bag and place it, and you get a point. So you're drawing blindly out of the bag to place it, rather than taking a tile that's face up from the outside. So, and that's what they call this, the outside. But to take one blindly out of the bag, that's awful gutsy. But I did it, and I needed a yellow tile to complete a 4-point column, and I didn't know this at the time. I drew a yellow tile out of the bag and completed that column. Lucky ducky. And I couldn't believe it. I was like, and I was making a joke about it. I was drawing, oh, come on, yellow. And I pulled out and showed it to her. And she's like, I hate you. Because I had a yellow tile. I couldn't believe it. And I went through the bag after the game. There was only 2 in there. And
I think you cheated.
I managed to pull one out. It was awesome. And then there's another special tile. But I get a point for that at the end of the game. So that's something to think about too. Because, you're drawing blindly.
It's a game of tiny points most of the time.
It is, and that 1 point can be huge. And another special tile that's in there allows you to wipe out all the tiles on the outside and refill them and then draw 2 tiles. So that's another special tile that's in there. But again, you're drawing blindly out of the bag. When you're doing that with these strong actions, you just don't know what you're going to get. And you're just going to have to make the most out of those tiles that you draw doing those actions. And some people dislike that kind of lack of control. And it is luck. There's a little bit of luck in this game. But it's nice luck. I mean, who wants the smartest person to win every board game? You do have to use your head in this game and put these things in the best scoring order that you possibly can. But sometimes there is a luck of the draw out of the bag, and that's a fun thing in this game. I really, really enjoy Whatnot Cabinet. We've had it since it came out. It's 2021, and this is 23, so it seems like we've had it a while because it just has been sitting over in our end table shelf where we keep a bunch of our little games, and I see it over there all the time. And every time we play it, I have fun, and that's just the whole point of board games. And this would definitely be a wonderful puzzle game for senior citizens to keep the gears of their mind oiled and lubricated, because you need to work on that as well as keeping your body lubricated and oiled and working out at the gym or whatever. It's very important to work out your mind rather than sitting and watching TV or something like that. I could really see people enjoying this game as that one of those little puzzle games you can get out, and it takes us, what did you say, probably 20 minutes to play it? Maybe 20 minutes. I love those kinds of games because there's certain times when they are just beautiful to get a game out and play it 2 or 3, 4 times in an hour. That's so nice.
Well, this would be easy to teach to people, too.
Yeah. Not a lot of rules.
No,
I mean,
very...
this is the little rule book you get.
And the rules are all printed right there on that card.
Yeah,
so
I mean, really, you wouldn't have to go through the rule book. Yeah, everything's here on these player aids. It's a wonderful job designing this game by Steve Finn and Eduardo Baroff, and so whoever else is responsible, Pencil First Games. But it's a wonderful game. If you have a chance to check it out, go to a convention. I mean, grab it out of their library at the convention, throw it down the table and play it, and I think you'll find, hey, this is a really fun game. The theme is interesting, I think, with these little whatnots. You're supposedly out walking outside and you're finding these little objects.
Beach.
Yeah, on a beach. Yeah, you're just finding these objects. You're gonna pick
like
them up,
an elephant,
take them home, and put them in your beach house on your little whatnot cabinet. So, I mean, it's just really, really a cool game. We enjoyed it from the first play, and we're going to continue to keep this game because it does fit and fill a certain gaming need for us. And that's the Whatnot Cabinet by Dr. Steve Finn and Eduardo Baroff. It's a wonderful little game. Again, it's got a solo variant for my solo friends, and it plays up to 4, which we've never done. Yeah, we've never done that. I don't know how that would change, but I can only give a testimony of the design of this game at 2-player count. I've never even played it solo.
Yeah, because we each get to take 2 turns because we're 2 players.
And there's times when, depending on your action selection, you may, like Lori, ended up taking the first 2 turns of the round. But that's the way it is. If you've got to think about those things during gameplay. Whatever round you're in, you got to tell yourself, if I take that action, my marker's going to slide up, and I'm going to go 4th. And if I take this action down here and it slides up, I'm going to go 2nd. Do I want to go 2nd and 4th? Do I want to go 1st and 2nd the next round? What do I think about how this game's going to play out? So the just tiny little nuances like that you'll learn as you play this game over and over again. But it is one of those games you can play over and over again. That's why I love it. That's the Whatnot Cabinet. Came out in 2021 by Dr. Steve Finn, Eduardo Baroff, and Bess Sobel did the beautiful artwork in it. So that's pretty cool. Yeah. Okay, everybody, that was a couple of games out of our library that we wanted to share with you. Thank you for those comments, and please keep them coming. We'll try to get back to you as often as we possibly can. I love every one of you guys. And always remember to keep on board gaming. It's the best hobby on the planet. Bye-bye.